It's difficult to define art nowadays because in the past there were different categories. There was painting, sculpture, mural paintings, or architecture could have been considered a form of art. Now all of this is kind of merged in something more. You can paint art on a building, the street art that artists are painting on the street, on the sidewalks, or people drawing with chalks, sort of improvising in that way, or making little sort of souvenir pictures is one thing, in the sense that I wouldn't call it second-rate art, but it's something that maybe people try to do for a living using sort of the tourism that is coming here. And there's not really, there is an artistic intention, but it's not sort of an intellectual intention in that way. It is difficult in Rome with all the art that we have already, or the architecture, the monuments, and the heritage that we have behind us. It is difficult for an artist to create something completely new.
As long as it does not hinder or cause damage to the buildings, particularly in a setting such as Rome, which still has a lot of the ancient remains preserved, or even, modern Rome, sometimes it conflicts with the way street art is displayed.
The riverbank, that was an interesting example, and it was painted directly on the walls of the riverbank. And in that case, permission was given. It's become a permanent, actually, work of art. But it was also a very successful experiment, and it was an interesting way to use the street art for the city. I would like to see a lot more street art, good quality, high quality street art in Rome. It would be more interesting.
Personally, I do appreciate street arts sometimes, and sometimes it irritates me. Once again, it really has to do with the way it interacts with the buildings. As an archaeologist and art historian, of course, I do care about the preservation of the ancient city. There's certain things such as urban decor that needs to be taken into consideration, particularly in the case of graffiti.
Usually tenement houses or low-cost housing, that is not very beautiful to look at. You have the same thing in the United States when artists paint the walls in very colorful colors and sort of beautiful sometimes designs or patterns or images. I think that helps. I'm very positive about that. Sometimes it's difficult to the artists that do this kind of art or work on the walls are not very selective about the materials that they use. And so it happens that in a number of years the materials don't hold on to weather condition, to heat, to sun, direct sunlight, and get altered, and sometimes they alter and get completely destroyed. It's becoming a cultural issue, and I think that's a very fascinating sort of subject for the future of street art.
I think there are ancient comparisons between ancient graffiti and modern street art because both were ways to communicate a certain message. In both circumstances we see graffiti, for example, in Pompeii that were used for political propaganda, but also to create playful boutades, mockery, and this is something that is, of course, very present even in modern street art. So there are a lot of similarities with the exception of the materials used. I do appreciate the initiative by the Municipality of Rome to actually assign spaces to graffiti artists to express their art. For example, train cars, shops, shutters, and I think that is a great way to actually allow graffiti artists to express their art without causing damage.
I think nowadays to define art it's a form of expression, human expression, and not so much a category or different kinds of categories.
I think that street performing is as valid a form of expression as any other performance or way of performing or venue, or as long as the artist is getting the opportunity to perform, and if that's in a way that they feel validated in their performance and their expression of their performance and of their music, then absolutely it's as viable as anything else. I think that these artists are looking for any opportunity that they can to perform, and in Rome, that's usually going to be in front of a tourist destination. So I think that if the performer understands that as a street performer in Rome, you're performing in front of a tourist spot, and that your audience may or may not want to listen, they may or may not stop, and they may or may not appreciate that you're even there. As long as you understand your audience, I don't think that there's anything lost in where you may or may not be performing. The accessibility of the art form is what makes it so unique, and I think that they are performing often in front of a large crowd of people that did not go there to see them. If I'm walking and I hear a performer playing a song that I like, or if they're performing it in a way that I like, I'll always stop. I think it's hard to say that there's no value in a street performer, because if people gather around and people are enjoying it, then they're getting value out of it, and the person is getting an opportunity to perform their art, whatever art form that is. So I think it's hard to say that there's not some benefit to the community.